So my name is Judith Bannerman Quist, and I'm originally from Ghana in West Africa. And I'm here today to talk to you on why and how climate change is a death sentence for the people of Africa. So climate change is the most pressing issue of our time that needs to have been addressed yesterday. And of course, Africa is disproportionately affected. Even though the continent emits only 3% of the current greenhouse gases, 7 out of 10 countries most at risk of climate change are in Africa today. The impacts of climate change are making themselves already known on the continent and are anticipated to get a lot worse in the coming years. Over the last 25 years, weather-related disasters such as droughts and floods have doubled across the African region. And as a result, Africa suffers a high mortality rate from droughts than any other region in the world. Between 2011 and mid-2012, a severe drought affected the entire East Africa and was said to be the worst drought in 60 years. East Africa is facing the worst food crisis in the 21st century, according to Oxfam. 12 million people in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia are in dire need of food. Rainfall has been below average since 2010. And has been recorded to be the driest year since 1950. The World Bank predicts an additional 5 to 8 degrees Celsius rise in Africa in the coming years. This is basically a death sentence for the people who live there. By 2020, between 75 and 250 million people are projected to be exposed to increased water stress. So I went back home in December, and my mother works in a hospital that serves a very large community. And even in a hospital like that, there was no running water. That's very, very disappointing because in outbreaks of like typhoid and cholera, people just die like flies all over the place. And this is inhumane. We can't allow this to continue. And in Somalia alone, 3 million people have been hit by crop failures and food shortages. 10 million people in Ethiopia are affected because 80% of the population subsists on rain-dependent agriculture. In Ethiopia, an 80-year-old farmer reports, we had one cow, but had to sell that for food, while other people's animals have lost so much body weight they cannot be sold. It's becoming worse due to climate change. We hope God will bless us with positive change. There are also stories that have been reported by aid workers of mothers coming to them and begging, I have nothing in my breast. Give me something for my baby. Climate change will also cause widespread of malnutrition and poverty across the region. And women and children will suffer the most when malnutrition happens because women have to walk for miles and miles to get water and to find food for their children and for the family. They do everything. So women are really going to be affected, and children, of course. And the ecosystem is going to be completely destroyed. Already we can see several rivers drying up. Lake Victoria is almost dried up, and 80% of the ice on Mount Kilimanjaro is now gone. Africa will suffer an increase in conflicts over limited resources as people will resort to fighting each other for basic resources like water. It's going to be horrible. Climate change in Africa, it's a huge issue we have to face. I think sometimes we sit in spaces like these and throw up our figures like 800 billion people are going to suffer, 200 billion people are going to starve, and we're just not really facing the reality of this. Like, these are human beings with lives, their mothers, their brothers, their sisters, and they deserve the right to live. And if we don't cut out our fossil intake, it's basically a death sentence. We are depriving them of their right to live. Thank you very much.